last night?
Okay, well, specifically there were two events in the ACT last night involving hoon vehicles and hoon sort of behaviour. So the first one was earlier in the evening up at Lonsdale Street, so a number of people firstly performing burnouts and behaving in an antisocial manner, and due to the behaviour of that particular part of Lonsdale Street and the amount of people that were around the area at the time, the police made the decision to close that section of Lonsdale Street due to public safety concerns. And then a number of hours later, a lot of the same people reappeared out in Fyshwick, and as you would have seen on social media and some of the footage, they then continued their antisocial behaviour, but sort of scaled it up a little bit and performing burnouts, a lot of drinking going on, and that sort of thing. And then when police turned up to try and disperse the crowd, the police were surrounded by the people there and banging on their vehicles and all that sort of thing, and police made a decision to sort of withdraw themselves from the situation and reassess what was going on. And as they were leaving, a beer bottle was thrown through the back window of one of the police cars, causing that to be damaged.
Were any arrests made?
No, there were no arrests made due to the number of people that were there at the time, and the amount of people or policing resources that were available at the time. The police made the decision not to make any arrests, but as you can see on social media, there's a fair bit of footage there, and amongst that footage is the registration of certain vehicles that were involved with those incidents. So it's fair to say that police will be finding those drivers later on and having a bit of a chat to them.
How many people would you estimate were there?
I couldn't tell you how many people were at Lonsdale Street. There were enough people there that sort of justified the closure of the roads due to the people that weren't involved there, who were again just having a Friday night out. But it was in the hundreds out at Fyshwick, and as I said previously, you can see that from the social media and the amount of people around there. It's fair to say the numbers are in the hundreds.
I appreciate police are very well trained, but that must have been a very intimidating situation that they found themselves in.
It was, and it's not a situation that we'd encounter on a frequent basis here in the ACT. And police are busy enough as it is, with trying to keep the community safe as far as COVID's concerned, and just the regular type of things that we investigate, without having to be perfectly honest, wasting our time dealing with people like this who take it upon themselves selfishly to think that they can run the town and start to behave in a certain way.
Were police caught off guard at all?
Oh well, it's fair to say that a gathering of that sort of magnitude, an unadvertised gathering, would catch any law enforcement organisation off guard, and we don't expect to see these sorts of large gatherings on a Friday night. We've dealt with people like this before with smaller gatherings, but the sheer number of people involved there did catch police off guard to a certain extent.
What's your message for the same people tonight?
Well, the message for the same people is, if you want to gather in a group and have a go at police and assault police, well, everybody's tough in a group. And these people are, when they display behaviours like that, and as police are trying to withdraw their vehicle from a scene, they throw a bottle through a back window, that's just plain cowardice. That's all it is, hoons and cowards. And if they want to continue that sort of behaviour, we're more than happy to oblige them in dealing with these sorts of behaviour. And I can tell you now, we'll be out in force tonight to deal with this sort of behaviour. And if they want to carry on with that sort of thing, they'll be met appropriately and dealt with appropriately. And as I said as well, with the proliferation of social media and everything that we see on social media, we've got number plates, we've got dates and times. So the drivers who are involved in those sorts of things can expect to be visited by police. They can expect to be issued fines in relation to it. And if it satisfies the requisite level within the legislation, they can expect to have their vehicles seized.
Do you expect that tonight will be just as big, or do you think they've learned their lesson?
Well, I'm sincerely hoping that tonight's not as big, and we're not inviting people to participate in this sort of behaviour. But if people want to play those silly games, those childish games, those immature games, and to be quite honest, selfish games, when police are actually trying to actively protect the community from a whole wide range of other issues, then they can expect us to go out there and deal with it and not have a great deal of tolerance towards it.
I know Canberra's in a good position as far as COVID goes, but we're constantly being bombarded with messaging about how we still need to be socially distanced.
Yep.
How does it make police feel when you see a gathering of 100 people, who I've seen the footage, we're not on the boat club meeting?
Well, it just amazes me at the stupidity of some people, the selfishness of some people to think that that's just fine, that the rules don't apply to them. And the rules apply to every single person in the ACT, and the vast majority of the ACT community has been enormously compliant with the fairly stringent conditions that governments all around the country have had to impose on people. And again, if you look at examples like on Lonsdale Street, there's certain businesses coming out of a really, really difficult 12 months in relation to COVID, starting to see some business, starting to see people returning to their restaurants and their bars, and then they're actively prevented from, trading well because of the selfish actions of some hoons and cowards.
There are reports on social media that a police car hit 2 people at one of these events. Are you in a position to be able to confirm that?
If people have, want to make an allegation like that, they're more than welcome to come into any police station and raise those sorts of concerns. Everybody wants to have a comment on social media and everybody wants to say something, but the level of actual veracity around a complaint sort of turns up when people turn up at a police station. So if they want to make a complaint, they're more than welcome to do so, and we will actively investigate that as well.
A separate unofficial Summonat-style cruise received some police person earlier in the week. Do the actions that were seen last night affect the viability of events like that in the future?
Well, it's really quite stunning to see the juxtaposition, I suppose, the difference between those 2 events. That event again continued today as an informal event up on Northbourne Avenue at the netball centre there. A genuine number of car enthusiasts there who were there for a bit of a show and shine event and then progressed on an informal cruise out the Federal Highway and back down to the same place, and they required no police intervention or no police assistance whatsoever. They complied with the rules. They don't think it's an episode of the Fast and the Furious. They're actual genuine motoring enthusiasts, not a bunch of hoons or cowards who think they can just take over our city streets.
Would you look to close Lonsdale Street before people turn up tonight? Is that being considered?
Well, it's something we'll always consider all sorts of actions to protect public safety. So obviously if we were to see a gathering of that sort or we get the sense of a gathering of that sort, then there's a wide range of options that are available to us, of course, of which closing down Lonsdale Street to vehicular traffic is one of them.
You said that you saw a number of number plates. Can you let us know, were they New South Wales plates? Were they ACT plates? Do we think that people have come from other areas to participate?
Well, I think the social media speaks for itself. I saw number plates from the ACT and now I didn't go into intimate detail in relation to the different states that were present, but I definitely saw ACT vehicles within that, so I couldn't tell you whether they were primarily vehicles from the ACT or from interstate.
Did you have to order anyone back to New South Wales?
No.
And no injuries?
No, none to police, no.
What's next steps for police when we start conducting these interviews, hopefully lay some charges?
Well, there's obviously, I wouldn't go into a great deal of commentary about the nature of the investigation, but again, we'll see the evidence that's available to us and then take the appropriate action from there.
And what can these people expect to cop in the way of fines or charges?
Well, these people can expect to receive the full suite of legislation or punishments or fines available to us under road traffic legislation here in the ACT. And obviously, when it comes to burnouts and things of that nature and highly dangerous motor vehicle behaviour, there is the option there for us to seize vehicles. There is the option there for us to impound vehicles, and obviously there are some significant fines that you'll either receive as in the form of a ticket, or you could find yourself in front of a court.
Were there enough police resources last night to respond?